Hi folks, Slick Slices here. Now, as I said before, I've always wanted a proper Puukko knife, and this is as close as I've got. The only, the real problem with it is it's not finished. The Puukko is the traditional knife of Finland, but this is at least Scandinavian, and this is next door in that it's made in Sweden, like Mora knives are made in Sweden. And as I've showed before, I've got a couple of Hella knives that are made in Norway, but this is a Swedish one, and it sort of looks the part. It's not the sort of traditional Puukko knife that would eventually hope to get. Although I say I'm quite keen on getting a Melanica Puukko, but it'd be Croatian. But the style and shape is very, very traditional, but with very, very modern materials. Well, anyway, this one is, it's a working knife, but it's more showy knife than it is a worker. It doesn't have the simplicity of the Hella knives that are just clearly there for work. This one is clearly here to look good as well. Just to start, a bit of tooling on the scabbard and the fishtail end to the scabbard, which I think is really a way of giving it a drain hole at the bottom by keeping it looking smart at the top. The other thing is that Puukkos, this is a traditional way of fixing the Puukko to your belt. It just looks very fragile to me, which would be a worry if I was in the frozen wastes and reliant on my knife to protect me and save me from trouble. One thing I do quite like about this, it has this big pommel part to it, so it fits deep into this scabbard, and the pommel part on the one hand stops rain and things getting in the top. It's a tight fit, but unlike I had problems with my Mora Volkneven Embla in that it's more barrel shaped at the top, so it gets thinner at the top. Trying to pull it out of the scabbard, particularly when it's new, is almost impossible. This one is very stiff, tight in the scabbard. I don't use it much. I don't use it at all, really. I just take it out to look at it. But because it's swollen at the top, you've got plenty to grab hold of. Now, this is a pretty knife, and there's no getting away from that. We have antler deer horn at the top. Then we have a band of a dark wood. Then we've got some curly birch. Then we have a different dark wood. Then some more curly birch and a different dark wood, and then brass. And then we get down to the blade. Karesuando Knives is who makes it. That's probably a terrible pronunciation. Made in Sweden, and a little picture of an elk or something, whatever that is, that's on the blade. And it's quite thin, actually, much thinner than the Hellas. It's maybe a 2mm thick steel as opposed to 3mm thick steel. I think it's just a plain Sandvik steel of some type. It's not a Sandvik or not a laminated steel. Just pretty straightforward. It does come nice and sharp, and it certainly has the character in the handle that you just don't get in those Hella knives. Now, Hella do make higher end knives. I just don't have any. This is a very nice looking knife. It cost as much as both the Hellas put together, which is I don't know whether I was kind of taken with the looks of it. Whether I don't think it's anywhere near as practical a knife. It's not going to fall out of your hand because of that thing, but there's nothing to stop your hand slipping up onto the blade. So it's always a bit of a worry to me. And the the fit of the blade to the handle is not as neat as the Hellas either. So I think this is about materials and show and looking lovely and whatever. I think this is probably not meant to ever be a very practical, usable knife. But having said all of that and run it down, I really like it because it just looks lovely. It's just a really smart looking knife. It actually feels quite nice in the hand as well, actually. I mean, I know there's that risk of it, your hand foot slipping onto the blade, but that swell at the bottom actually fits really quite nicely. In terms of size, you are about 8 3/8 overall, with a blade of about 3 3/4 inches. So how does that stand up to the Hellas? I mean, in nominal terms, it's very similar to the Egan, but in practical terms, the Egan is, I mean, it's almost the same length, maybe a 16th longer, no more than that. It's certainly the Hella is broader, and in terms of the biggest difference is the thickness. It's half as thick again, and of course the Hella is laminated steel. So if I wanted a knife to go and do some work in the garden, it's the Hella every day, every time. And I mean, that's probably also true because I don't want to get this one chipped or scratched or whatever, but there's nothing, nothing you couldn't sand down and re-oil and you'd be back to square one. This one, you could do it a little bit of damage. I must say, I think I do quite like the feel of that in my hand, but I feel more safe with this one. So, anyway, that's probably all there is to say about that knife. But it is pretty, and the scabbard's quite nice too. So, I'm glad I've got it, but I'm not sure it was my wisest purchase. It would probably been better to put my name down for a Melanico and wait the 9 or 10 months, I think it is, waiting list to get one. Might have been worthwhile. But anyway, I've got this. I like it. It's not going anywhere. So, if you like this stuff, maybe you could give it a wee thumbs up. And maybe if you want to see some more of my fixed blade knives, there aren't that many more to come. But there is still the Jacklaw, which might be next, actually. I think it probably is. I don't think there's any point in showing you. I've done my grandfather's FS fighting knife, and I have another Tanto, which is just a really piece of cheap tat from the 90s, and I've shown you the Japanese Tanto that I've got several times. So I think it was probably just the Jacklaw to come. So thank you very much. Bye, folks.